Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is I, ImperialDane, with another Propagandacast for you. And today we have a 1 versus 1 on Semois. Yes, indeed, we are returning to good old Semois, that little town by the river. So, let's have a look at the opponents. In the southern corner we have, as the British, Fyfun of the 11th Armored Division, ready to take on Jerry and give him a beating. And who shall oppose him? Who shall lead the fight? Well, it's no other than me, Major Dane of the 2nd Panzer Division, ready to give those British a good thrashing in the name of the fatherland and show them what a true soldier is. So, for those that don't know, Semois is a rather separating map into a sort of 3-stage plan. We have the first stage here. This is more the safe area, albeit these medium yield fuel points right next to the bases are extreme good points of harassment, since they are the only medium yield, and besides those two low yield there are no other fuel points, so expect a lot of action there. Then we have the center stage, which is where most of the action will happen, in particular right at the center of the town, right at the victory point. At the other two parts we have munitions point of high yield and victory points. Also we have choke points here and here and here, and the same applies to here, here and here, albeit no one will usually not be able to block it all off, but it should be noted nonetheless. We see a recon section moving out there, a lieutenant there, and we see the HQ truck packing up, probably going to go for that medium yield fuel point, so not bad. Will also protect it in case I am some sort of sneaky harasser person, but that's not really my type of strategy or tactic. We see pioneers moving out and also getting this munitions point. Volksgrenadiers on the field, dashing upwards with their Kar-98K rifles, standing for Karabiner 98 Kurz. Kurz meaning short, since it's actually a shortened version of the rifle used in World War I, I do believe, but I might be wrong. And we see a bike out. Since I'm fighting the British, I do expect I might be facing some sort of Bren carrier rush or anything, and for that the bike will be quite handy in dealing with that. Volksgrenadiers going and securing this strategic point, which is of course quite strategic since it will connect me in the northern half with the entirety of this area, so it's quite vital, just like this point is vital to the southern players, well, territories and supply lines. Bike sneaking out, or not sneaking, dashing ahead, doing a bit of scouting, reconnaissance, spotting this lieutenant all by himself and unleashing hell with its light machine gun. And the lieutenant doesn't really care, he's a British officer and he will not be deterred by something as a bike. And we see the infantry section on the move, ready to assist their erstwhile lieutenant, and the bike driving away at all speed, joining up with the Volksgrenadiers. And who knows, they might be joined by another Volksgrenadier. Yes, indeed, second team of Volksgrenadiers moving in. Volksgrenadiers setting up in a defensive position, expecting a British assault any moment. And there we go, setting up in the church. Not necessarily the best position, not all windows are accessible it seems, or at least they're not keen on using them all. Only 2 windows, and there's also one other thing to note about this sort of setup. We have a unit for 405 manpower being held up by a unit of 280 manpower. In particular, also considering that means a lot less capping power, it also means a lot less fighting power in general, meaning I'm basically using a lot less resources to hold a lot more resources for him hold up. So again, even though I might not be doing anything serious and holding him up, I'm in fact still doing quite a lot there. And second Volksgrenadier team on the way, now putting extra pressure on them from the safety of the cemetery, which is of course making this worse for him. I'm still holding up 2 entire infantry teams, 1 infantry team, but there we go, recon section dashing in, ready to save their brethren hold up in the church. But these Volksgrenadiers are quick to dash into the cafe, not for a bit of coffee or beer, but for shots at the infantry section, while the other one moves into this house. They have all 5 windows open, so can easily fire away here. And now I have, again using less resources, held up a much larger, or at least in terms of manpower force, but of course also it's the main capping force while my pioneers are of course free to still seize territory, so I'm for the most part actually holding the advantage. Fresh infantry section though, joined up by the lieutenant once more. Recon section running for all they can. Infantry section still hold up and now being joined by even more, while the first one is not leaving. Still not using all the windows. I'm not entirely sure if this is intentional. Apparently only 2 of the windows there are used, and neither is those up in the bell tower. We see rifle grenades being researched, so that will certainly be a small advantage, but really I would have recommended moving some of those troops over into the cemetery and using the heavy cover there. Would certainly have been much better. And now a sniper joins, Sniper Koenig, now taking shots at the infantry section, hiding inside the church and doing quite a lot. Not looking good for the British, and they are forced to retreat. So currently I do hold the center, mines being laid up here, and a third pioneer team joins in, usually so I don't have to rush away pioneer teams from the front, and I can get to work on a Krieg barracks right away, and of course later on they can join for repairs and whatnot. Barbed wire also being laid down to block off the most obvious approaches to the central victory point, meaning they'll have to move a bit farther and of course expose themselves even more to the defenders in here, which I suspect I'll be designating this as my main effort of defense and be using that. And now we see the Volksgrenadiers coming under fire from the recon section moving in. Personally myself, I was actually quite worried that he will be using this marketplace to set up a mortar pit and begin bombarding me right while I was here, of course, which would make it a much more difficult task for me to actually hold this central area of the village, but he never actually went for that. But still, rifle grenades is actually not a bad idea certainly, and of course with the lieutenant they are much tougher. Now we see a Bren carrier filled with troops. We'll have to see what it does with that. Volksgrenadiers taking a bit of losses now with the rifle grenades landing among them. Sniper holding back, but taking shots at the troops, killing 2 Tommies so far. And we see the British sneaking up behind the building, which is of course forcing me to reallocate all of my troops. But the ones in the church are still not out of the fight. The ones in the cemetery all just need to move up here. And of course the bike joins into the fight as well, foiling another British assault, but the Bren carrier and the south does force my pioneers here into a full rout. For the moment I have managed to secure most of the map and hold up the British. He has though set up a casualty clearing station, so certainly preparing for the long haul, which is certainly not a bad idea. But perhaps a mortar pit again here would have helped, or some sort of machine gun nest so it can't advance further. Further mines being laid down, and we see the Krieg barracks up, going for a pack sensor. Well, I have no idea what to expect, and of course, since I suspect he'll be holding this point, I might as well also suspect he'll be throwing in some sort of steward or other things at me, to which point the current Panzerfaust won't avail me much, being the most early prototypes apparently, which weren't as effective as the later ones, which could pretty much knock out anything. Fresh assault from the British, lieutenant once more leading, and the sniper knocking out 1 rifle grenadier. The chaps in the church are still holding out, possibly napping a bit of altar wine, who knows. These are Volksgrenadiers and not the elite grenadiers. Charging in and right into a mine. Apparently the recon section did not have time to spot it. Heavy losses, they were deeply wounded. Not entirely sure why they continued there. Perhaps it would have been better to instead go up here. Of course slowly checking for mines, but still sometimes you want to change the axis of your attack. But we do see the Bren carrier moving in from the south. Troops inside able to fire, having hit a mine, but do mind with the next patch. You can't self-repair while there are troops inside. Panzerfaust doing quite a bit of damage to the Bren carrier. Bren carrier really doing its best to get out of there. And we see troops with a Bren gun possibly inside or not, I'm not entirely sure. Firing back though. And we do hear someone screaming in pain. Apparently this pioneer before he expires, and Panzerfaust knocking out the Bren carrier, killing another infantry trooper in the process. But the Volksgrenadiers are forced to retreat alongside the bike, which can't hold off this infantry section on its own. And we do see this captain having braved the mines and now seizing this munitions point. Finally a bit of progress for the 11th Armored Division, who has yet to actually mobilize any armor since the forward elements are meeting a lot of trouble. pack in a nice reserve position here, ready to react to whatever might come. And there we see a smart trick, using the retreat to captain ability. They are basically just running right up here to the captain, of course. And this does put me in a quite problematic dilemma, since I'll need to react to this quite quickly. We see our half-track out, ready to play the Panzer Grenadiers, which of course will fit with the 2nd Panzer Division, who of course needs Panzer Grenadiers. So half-track ready, Volksgrenadiers and Pioneers in there. Pioneers to man the guns and of course repair afterwards. And we see if Pioneers with flamethrowers and a sniper moving up. Rather suspecting this will be the main British push. Of course, I've forgotten a bit about this. Medic bunker being set up and a mortar team moving in as well. Oh dear. Flamethrower team knocked out. Bike nearby, but not really helping out. And now we have the half-track moving in. And Volksgrenadiers inside have been equipped with MP40s. Bike moving in as well. One recon section has been taken out. Volksgrenadiers jumping out, taking a lot of heavy losses since they're too close. Rifle grenades really causing a lot of havoc, slaughtering the Volksgrenadiers. But the British are forced to pull out. Will this captain get out though? In time, he fires his Webley revolver, bravely covering his men for king and country. But he might be lost in the process, or will he not? And we have a Stuart light tank dashing in now, going to be catching all of this quite off guard. These motorbike is wrecked, and this half-track will really need to be cautious.
We are losing ground.
And it moves right in front of the Stuart light tank. The British are now moving in towards the south, using the commotion in the northern part to move to the south. Using my distraction there, quite excellently done. If your opponent is occupied elsewhere, do remember to try and strike elsewhere. It can be a really good idea, really. And now Stuart moving in for the kill, but will it be aware that the pack has moved in? Probably not. And hitting the mine, damaging the engine, and the brave pack crew fires away, knocking out the Stuart in the process, or not. Apparently managing a bit, albeit the damaged engine, and now destroyed, but it is still there. The Stuart, oh, it's gone. And we have a fresh Volksgrenadier team moving in now with Grenadier support, who have been equipped with Panzerschrecks, and a fresh British assault is on the move, having healed up all nice and dandy. And now sappers are moving in as well. The British having managed to open up the line of defense a bit, having caused me to dash out there and suffer heavily, so not bad at all. But the sniper is caught out in the open, not good at all. And in fact, let's have a look at Mr. Oh, whoops. At Mr. British, see what he's up to. No doctrine yet, and in fact I'll just pause briefly and comment on this. The bunker, I may have mentioned before that you want to place them close but accessible to you, not to the enemy, and of course placing it right behind a building certainly does that, but it also serves another purpose. If my opponent gets some artillery, on map of course, all of that artillery